Grizzlies have moved on from their head coach, David Fizdale. So is it time for them to also move on from Marc Gasol? I discuss what is going on, y'all. 5 Sports Talk back at it with another video talking some NBA, here to talk about the entire Marc Gasol situation, okay? So basically, when the firing of David Fizdale happened, Fizdale, it's hard to say the name, but whenever the firing of that head coach happened, I didn't really get a chance to come here and address it right away with you guys. I kind of wanted to let it sink in because it was very abrupt when it did happen. It came out of nowhere. If you were on Twitter, you could see the reactions from a LeBron James, from a Dwayne Wade, and multiple other NBA players that were thinking that David Fizdale was the fall guy, quote unquote, for the Grizzlies. Now, of course, if you don't know the backstory behind the firing, I'm pretty sure there's like 90% of the reason why he got fired, but the game before, or the last game that he essentially coached the Grizzlies in, David Fizdale benched Marc Gasol in the fourth quarter. I believe it was against Brooklyn, and they lost that game to the Brooklyn Nets. Now, of course, Brooklyn sounds like they should be one of the worst teams in the league, but they've been kind of competitive this year, so it wasn't really the worst loss in the world. I mean, the Grizzlies haven't been world beaters themselves. I will discuss that in a little while, but it wasn't the worst loss in the world. And David Fizdale basically came out after and said that he was just trying to win the game, and the unit that he had out there was basically the unit that brought them back in the game, and so he wanted to just keep them there. It was not the fact that he was trying to bench Marc Gasol. Either way, Marc Gasol was pissed, okay? Marc Gasol had it. He said, hell nah, you bench me. You'd never do that to Mike Conley. F that. So Marc Gasol let it be known to the media that he was not very happy about that. He wanted to play, and he thought he got benched. So we didn't even have a chance for the situation to sort of sink in. Like I said, this happened literally the day after, I believe. And you hear on Twitter, Woj is reporting, oh, Grizzlies fired head coach David Fizdale. And I'm like, what? What the hell is going on in Memphis? And my first initial reaction was they picked the franchise player over the coach. Makes sense. Unless you're Greg Popovich, and I tweeted this, the franchise is always going to pick the franchise player over the coach because, like I mentioned, unless you are a legendary coach like a Pop or Phil or someone like that, it's very hard for coaches to transcend and affect the game as much as players do. This is not the case in football. In football, coaching matters a lot. In basketball, I'm not saying it doesn't, but you see when you have a generational talent like a LeBron James, you can mask bad coaching. And so with that, the franchise will always pick the player over the coach. And so in this case, I mean, David Fizdale, yeah, he was a great assistant coach for the Heat, but he really hadn't proved anything with the Grizzlies. So really, were they losing anything here? Now, of course, he didn't get that long of a tenure, but you get my point here. And so I was not too shocked in terms of them picking Gasol over Fizdale. So there were rumors that they would look to trade Gasol, and now they made their decision, and I was like, okay, so they are moving on from David Fizdale, and clearly they did it because Marc Gasol was unhappy, and so they want to keep Marc Gasol. But my issue here is, should they want to keep Marc Gasol? Should they even want Marc Gasol around? And the reason I say this is because in the NBA, and I've said this before, if you guys have followed me for a while, you should know this, the worst place to be in the NBA is mediocre. I was there with my Bulls for the past couple of seasons. The management, even though I'm not a big fan of them, they did decide to take a direction, and the Bulls are bottoming out, and they're one of the worst teams in the NBA. I'm still a Bulls fan. I'll always be a Bulls fan, but I know losses are better, so it's kind of hard to watch them right now, but I know this is better for the future. This is the right thing to do. They're going to get a top 5 pick, and there's going to be some sense of a direction with this team. The Grizzlies, on the other hand, they have been sort of in this 5 to 8 range in the Western Conference for the past couple of seasons, you know, and they really have never made that leap to contender, and they've never really fallen down the lottery to where they can get a superstar player in the draft. And so they've been at this spot the whole time, okay? If you guys remembered how they acquired Marc Gasol was via trade, I think in the Pau Gasol trade, okay? And then Mike Conley, he was a draft pick, but he was not, I believe, a top 3 pick, nothing like that. Or maybe he was. I have to double check on that. But other than that, I mean, really, with this Grizzlies team, they have been in that mediocre range in the NBA. And to me, what's the point? What is the point of being in this range? So, for me, I am saying the Grizzlies, at this time, it is perfectly okay. I would be in favor of trading Marc Gasol for all the reasons that I outlined. Like I said, the biggest being that they need to rebuild, because being mediocre gets you nowhere in the NBA, okay? It's like being in quicksand. It's really, you're just not going to be able to do anything. And here's the thing with the Grizzlies, with the way their cap situation is and with the way, they have allocated money, and with their lack of sort of talent in their youth, it's difficult for the Grizzlies to say, oh, we'll be better in a couple years because we have players developing. No, they don't even have that. They're a weird roster mixed with veterans and young players, and at this point, they're not better than Houston, not better than Golden State, not better than OKC, not better than Portland, not better than even the Pelicans, I would say. I'm talking future-wise, the Timberwolves and whatnot. And so you see the Grizzlies are not going to be better than any of those teams, not now and not in the future. So what the hell is the point of keeping Marc Gasol, okay? Marc Gasol is now 32 years old. He is in the middle of that ginormous contract he signed. What was it, 5 years and $113 million? He's not a free agent for 2 more seasons, okay? So any team that trades for him, they won't be scared off by the fact that he could be a 1-year rental. They will at least get 2 years of Marc Gasol, okay? So that is a selling point to trade him right now versus later when his trade value gets shot, okay? Because nobody likes to trade for an expiring contract and a guy that could possibly be a rental. Go look at the Pelicans if Boogie Cousins decides to leave, if you see what I mean. Their other player, Mike Conley, he's 30 years old. He's not young anymore either, and they gave him a fat contract, okay? That humongous $153 million deal. And then you got Chandler Parsons that they shelled out like $94 million. And honestly, here's the thing. My gut feeling is Grizzlies will not trade Marc Gasol. They'll keep him because here's the thing. They're a small market team, and for them, just staying relevant is enough. And that's really what owner Robert Pera and I guess the franchise want. They just want to stay relevant because they know that Marc Gasol and Mike Conley sell tickets. And, for them, just being competitive will help them stay afloat because at this point for them, with the contract situation, with, like I said, Mike Conley's contract and Chandler Parsons' contract. Chandler Parsons' contract is god-awful. That dude, I know he's coming off knee surgery, and he is still struggling to, get back to full health. But my God, averaged 6 points last season, and this season he's looked a little bit better. But really, you're talking about a guy who was supposed to be a star. He was supposed to be the star starting small forward for this team. And with Memphis, really, they lost a lot of players in this past season. You lost the entire, grit and grind sort of image of your players with Zebo leaving, with Tony Allen leaving, and guys like that. So really, this roster, what do you have on here? You've got a mix, like I mentioned, of veterans and young players. Tyreke Evans, Mario Chalmers. You have no rookies to build around. I know Dillon Brooks is nice, but do you really feel like you can build around him? Andrew Harrison, Jarrell Martin. A lot of these guys are just, they're nothing like where you can say, okay, this is a guy that I want to keep long-term, and he's got a good future with the Grizzlies. So they really need to assess this roster. But here's the thing. Marc Gasol is by far their best trade chip. Like I said, Mike Conley is hurt right now, and Chandler Parsons, that is just looking like an albatross of a contract that is something that they're going to regret. But like I said, should they trade Marc Gasol? I think they should definitely consider it, and they should try and get younger, and they should just start the rebuild. But do I think they will? I don't think so. I think they're a small market team, and they will want to stay relevant. And I think because they see that these contracts that they handed out, even though they know they shouldn't have, they are going to stick by it because they are going to be stubborn about it. So that is what I think, folks. Even though if they traded Marc Gasol, I'm sure they could get a good haul for him. They could even ask the Cavs for that Brooklyn pick. That would be nice, but Again, if you want to blow it up, you have to go all in. You can't be half-assing it, and I just don't think the Grizzlies will. Let me know what you guys think. Will the Grizzlies rebuild? Will they trade Marc Gasol? I don't think they will, but I think they should. Leave a comment down below. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please make sure to subscribe. And please make sure to follow me on my social media down below. Thank you for watching.